fans, and welcome to this week's episode of Like Anime. Thank you. I was waiting. Hi, I'm George, and with me here is Tony.
Where?
This is our Sunday episode in which we spotlight something, anything of anime. And if you were listening last week, we cued you in.
Wait, it's got to be anime? I thought we were doing Star Trek Voyager.
Uh-oh.
Because that's what I've been watching this week. I'm on season 4.
Okay. I'm not.
It's not what we're doing. All right.
No, this is anime, man.
What about Big Brother?
Is it anime?
No.
Does it anime?
It could. It could anime.
Can you bop it? No, we're not here to talk about Star Trek Voyager or Big Brother.
I feel like I should have watched something else this week.
Or the new HBO dating reality show called F-Boy Island, which I watched the first 3 episodes.
Did you watch that? I saw an ad for it. I was like, what?
It's hosted by Nikki Glazer. Who
sounds like something you'd watch, though, I guess.
I mean, not normally. I don't watch The Bachelor or anything.
Sounds like you do.
I love Nikki Glazer, and I like the concept of the show. It's kind of fun. Like, it's a twist on those kind of shows. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Who's Nikki Glazer?
She's a stand-up comedian, comic, does like roasts a lot, and stand-up specials. And
does she do anime?
She does not. So sorry, Nikki.
Yeah.
See ya, Nikki. She'll be there waiting for me. We're here to talk about Fruits Basket 2019.
Now just sit on the stairs. He'll be with you in a bit.
Yes, I won't keep you waiting long. Gorgeous lady. Hilarious, too. Anyway, Tony and I, we were into Fruits Basket, the original show, which is 2001, I believe. Which is the original...
Yeah, sounds right.
2001.
Yeah.
Which is the original anime adaptation of the manga, which has been a long-running manga, which has since finished post that original anime. And so they, rightly so, it's a popular, very well-known and beloved anime and manga. So they saw fit to do a re-adaptation of it in 2019, and that recently concluded. So we thought, what better time to get on this Fruits Basket train, actually get back. Fruba. So we saw it fit to, in accordance with that, check it out. Check this new Fruits Basket out. And we thought it's like we could, we're like, should we watch every 12 or 13 episodes, then talk about it? That was the initial plan. The opposite is to just watch all of it and then have a really long episode. But through some technical difficulties, other technical difficulties in the past, we're here to talk about the first 25 episodes, which is the first full season.
Yeah, we did already actually talk about the first 12 episodes, but it was lost to, I don't know.
My error, really.
Scrooge McDuck, I think, actually, was the cause of all of that.
Oh, yeah, that's
what I've been told on Twitter anyway, and I'm going to believe it. Gesundheit.
Having all sorts of delays. Thank you.
You see how I played that into the character?
Oh, nice.
Because it was German. It was German, yeah. Because I am Year of the Rabbit. That is.
Yep.
We were talking about this right before we started recording, because I made a thumbnail for this episode, in which you can see on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms. Yeah, and the rabbits sitting, or the animals, sorry, sitting in front of each of us are the representative of the years that we were born. So I'm Year of the Rabbit.
And I'm Year of the Tiger, I learned.
Yeah, so you're being a little loud for a tiger.
I know, I should, this podcast should just be you.
Yeah, just don't bite my hand.
So that's that brings us to Fruits Basket, which is a very good segue. Very important to know, about the Chinese zodiac, as well as know this fable or folktale around it of how the order of the zodiac animals came to be, supposedly, right? But it's very important to this show.
Yeah.
So we have our main character, Toru Honda, who, as we learn from the start, and piece things together as you go, you learn a little bit more, but essentially her mom has recently died, and she's like living in a tent
Yes.
out in the woods.
Yeah, that's where
she
we start.
did have a place to live with her grandpa, but there was renovations, and he was like, "Oh, you can just stay with a friend." And she is just we through so many ways we learn how not only polite she is, but compassionate. She doesn't want to put people out. She always is helpful and never holds grudges. Like she's very almost a little too perfect, but she is
I don't know about perfect, but she's very accommodating.
yeah, she's and self-sacrificial, but like not in a way that has that much of a detriment to her. Like she has a lot of anxiety and like um just in the moment, I think about, social faux pas and like, saying the wrong thing, but she often just kind of makes people around her feel more comforted and loved more than anything.
Yeah. She always speaks in the polite form of Japanese, apparently, which I don't remember. I don't remember that being mentioned in the 2001 series, but maybe it was. It probably was. I don't know. It's difficult to compare something that you watched, 10, 20 years ago.
It is. And it would have been interesting, although we have so much to watch, you guys. But I did think that at one point it would be interesting, having watched this first season, to go back and watch the first 24 episodes or whatever of the original, just to be like, compare, contrast.
Once I finished the last episode of this season, that's what I wanted to do. But I was already so short on time this week, there was no way that was going to happen. So, we're ahead of schedule right now. So I say we just pause the recording and we watch all 24 episodes, and then we come back and finish the recording.
I love the idea. I love the spirit, the tenacity, but it's just...
And they're half-hour episodes, so this one's going to take like 12 hours, George.
It cannot be. Unfortunately, I have fond memories of that original anime, but it occurred to me watching this new one, because it seems for the most part, it's episode by episode, like it's pretty, at least for the first half,
pretty close.
It remains. And I remember the first half was very familiar, and then after that, like episode 13, 14, I was like, I don't remember any of this. So I don't know. I remember I had, back in the day, I had a Hong Kong bootleg of Fruits Basket. So maybe it only had the first 12 episodes on it.
Oh.
That could have been the case. Because I watched, I was a big fan of it. I watched it over and over, and I always thought it ended really abruptly, which most people have that complaint. But maybe it was even more abruptly if I only had half of what was available.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, where did it end then?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we can talk about overall thoughts later. Maybe we should dig into more about like what it's about and stuff. But yeah, tell us about these zodiac animals that she comes across. Just a general premise of.
So there's a family called the Soma family who we meet through Toru. Who are cursed in a way that causes them to turn into animals of the zodiac, or sometimes different animals, or sometimes no animals at all. I don't know. It's a weird curse. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it makes enough sense. It's fine. But yeah, the first ones that she encounters, she's camping out on this property that she just sort of found. And one morning she's wandering around and she sees this house, and she sees these little painted figurines on the porch and decides to check them out. And then someone opens the door and
busted.
Yeah. And the dialogue is maybe a little bit different between the two versions of it. I don't remember if it's this one or the original one where Shigure is who she meets first.
Yes. And it's his house.
He says something like, "Oh, there's, most kids your age aren't really interested in this stuff. These little painted stones that have the zodiac animals on them."
Yeah.
But I don't remember which one of them. It might be both of them. I don't know.
It might be. This newer one definitely has that, because I remember that.
Okay.
And she it kind of sparks this whole thing where she's like, I can't remember if those stones represent the cat or not, but she kind of brings up.
She says the cat is missing.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
So she's
like, another set where the cat is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And
and so that's where we learn this tale, this popular at least in Japan and China, I would imagine too, in Eastern cultures of how the zodiac came to be, which is all the animals were summoned to the Jade Emperor's place, home or whatever, and they had to cross this river to get there. The cat and the rat, took a ride on the ox because they were like, we can't swim past it, across this river. But then they got into a fight, supposedly across the river, and the rat knocks the cat into the water, and the cat ends up drowning and not making it, while all the other animals, make their way across it one way or another.
Wait, is this like the original story or the one that's told in Fruits Basket? Because there seems to be a difference here.
Oh, maybe I was reading about the original today.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't remember how they phrased the whole cat rat thing. But
yeah, the way in Fruits Basket that it's presented is that the rat goes to the cat and says, "Oh, it's not till later. You can sleep in," or something like that, right?
That's what it is. Okay.
And so then the cat oversleeps, and the rat does ride on the ox's back and all that stuff. But
and then the rat, in both instances, it's the case where the rat jumps off the ox, and so he's the first one. Yeah, that's fair. And I do remember that now that you say that, like it's a more PG version.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this. Yeah, the story you were telling is not probably not something they're putting in a children's cartoon, which this originally sort of was, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's like super oriented towards children, but
yeah,
a little bit.
Given all that's happened up to where we are, seems like not. But
well, right.
But I suppose telling that story to children, you might tell a PG version instead of or a G-rated version. But either way, yeah, the cat does not make it. He sleeps in or he drowns to death. Take your pick. And so this kind of like sets up. She ends up meeting Sugar Day, who's the dog, as you said, and then she meets, and he's kind of the head of this house, and he has two of his family members that.
Just one at first. But,
yeah, just one. Yuki's there, but the other, Kyo, shows up shortly after.
And Yuki, she recognizes from her school as he's a classmate of hers that she doesn't really know or talk to or anything like that, but he's very popular with the ladies.
Yes, he's the prince of their high school, whatever the name of it is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but yeah, he's fawned over and gushed about ad nauseum at school. And he, as we learn, I forget exactly how it happens, but we learn how this curse works, where if they are embraced or hugged by a member of the opposite sex, who is not also a Soma family member, then they transform into whatever their animal is. And so...
Yeah, and this leads me down the path of like, okay, what qualifies as an embrace? Because there are many times that she like grabs one of them by the wrist. I mean, her hand is like completely around their arm.
Yeah.
But that doesn't cause them to transform. I don't know.
And I often thought too, like if one of them were to embrace her, then it would turn, I guess she would have to return the embrace, right? Is that,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Or if they were to embrace her like from behind, would that count?
The rules are somewhat vague.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And it's kind of funny because like, as narrow as it seems, based on, us not knowing how exactly it all works, there are many, many, many times where it just happens by accident.
Yeah.
Like Toru, who's sort of a klutz, trips and grabs onto the nearest thing, which happens to be one of the Zodiac members, or a member of the Soma family anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think when it first happens, like she's both Yuki and Shigure like go to are there, and she, I don't know, she grabs onto both, and then it's just like,
yeah,
what the heck? Now there's a dog and a rat just hanging out in a pile of clothes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the basic concept of Fruits Basket for anyone that hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you're listening to this, but
well, it's nice to set these things up.
Welcome. We can fill you in on everything that is Fruits Basket. I would recommend watching it rather than listening to us talk about it, but you can just pause the podcast right now and go watch it real quick. I'll only take a quick 12 hours. Come back and pick up where you left off.
We're breaking it up piecemeal for you. So you want to watch the first season, then come back, listen along, and then about a month or so we'll revisit the next season.
You can watch both first seasons if you want. It'll only
Be
take
ahead
you
of us.
a really quick 24-hour. No, both first seasons.
Oh, of the original too.
Yeah, the original and
There
then
you go.
this first
Yeah,
season.
if you want to show us up.
It'll just be a quick 24 hours. Just, get it done.
So I'll say with the curses, like you were saying, it doesn't oftentimes make a lot of sense, but like sometimes with the just how, I don't know, the whole like physical aspect of it. But the reason it exists, I believe, is because it not only illustrates the Soma family, the dark cloud that's hanging over them, and why they have to be so separate from the rest of society and kind of
Yeah.
insulated to themselves. But then also it like kind of indicates personality traits of these different characters and like how they interact with each other. Like obviously, Yuki and Kyo, the cat and the rat, or rat and the cat rather, don't get along, and they're always at each other's throats, much like in the fable where they just
Tom and Jerry.
yeah
The fable Tom and Jerry. Yeah.
yes.
I mean, rat, mouse, it's, I realize there's a distinction in English, but I'm pretty sure that in Japanese, Nezumi covers both of those things. So,
yeah, so that's a common thing. Yeah. But it extends to the other Zodiac members as well, and how they relate to one another. So it's interesting in that sense. Like I like it as like a sort of framing device of these this whole family. Well, not the whole family, but these key characters in the family.
yeah, there's definitely some, I guess, the personalities of these family members and the zodiac signs that they represent, the personality traits that are supposed to be represented by the zodiac sign that they represent, I guess, or the animal they represent, is a somewhat Japanese or at least Eastern Asian sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like some of them don't, I wouldn't think of that animal as having that personality, or I wouldn't think of that personality trait belonging to that animal or something like that. But
Yeah. Like you wouldn't
there's
guess
some of
like,
those.
oh, that character is probably this, or
Yeah. Well, like the boar, who we'll get to eventually. If I was guessing the whole time before it was revealed,
yeah.
wouldn't have been my guess.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's just not the same sort of personality traits that we assign, or we would assign a different animal to those personality traits or something. I don't know. Yeah.
And I imagine some of these are more important than others as far as the story goes. But along those lines, like the show's interesting. Like this first season, it seems to like be slowly ramping up with the drama. But in the meantime, we get a lot of like almost borderline sitcom, a lot of light comedy of like the character interactions, and there's also like a will they won't they with like Toru split between Yuki and Kyo, and they haven't really committed to any of that yet, but it's kind of all like out there in the open. So we see Toru like going about her day. She ends up living with the Somas, and they have sort of an arrangement. Like she kind of brings a lot of light to their lives, and she also does all the cooking and cleaning and chores and everything. So they got it pretty made, having her around.
Well, they needed someone to do that. They had a whole room that was just full of garbage.
Yeah, and even Sugare's room is still looks like a bunch of garbage, but but yeah,
mostly just books everywhere, I think. But yeah.
that's true. Dimly lit, so it doesn't look pretty. But yeah, she's brought like a maternal presence, but also a tidiness to their lives, not only physically, but she's kind of that wedge between Kyo and Yuki is like becomes smaller and smaller. It's still there, but she's softening them and kind of making them tolerate their existence a little more. But she's really impressive. Like she works a part-time job, she goes to school, she does all the cooking, cleaning, and chores at this house, and like whenever they have a problem or there's some dilemma, she's there to talk them through it and give give them warmth. And so she's an all-around kick-ass person who does so much, but then has so little, I guess, at the end of it. But the way things are slowly unraveling is like the way I see it is like we keep getting these backstories for these key characters, but we don't get them right away. They're I imagine very purposefully placed. Like as far as the climax of this season, which I guess we can end with. I don't know. We get Kyo's backstory, which we didn't really know. Like we just knew like his character, traits and like how he interacts with others, which is usually very poorly. Got a chip on his shoulder,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Maybe we can start with him. I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of those shonen protagonists that screams all the time. Everything he says pretty much is,
Yeah.
I don't know, just very combative in everything that he says.
Yeah. And anytime there's like a moment of vulnerability or like an emotional, kind of thing, he's always very awkward with it. And when it comes to Toru, like he cares. He doesn't want to offend her, but the way he approaches it is so like, I guess like tsundere or something, tsundere, like where it's like, I don't want to be helping you, but I have to show you I care too. Or I don't know, like he does it begrudgingly almost, like yelling like, I'm helping you.
Yeah, and at the beginning, it's just sort of a personality flaw in his own character, where he gets mad about something, and then he's just like, screw everything,
Yeah,
like
and just take off and
and ends up yelling at Toru a few times.
Does that, yeah.
And eventually he softens a little bit and is more conscientious of what he's saying and how he's saying it.
That's true. And he's always still rough around the edges, but like he's like slowly becoming more and more like a functioning social entity.
Yeah, they show him some like mid-season. Sometimes he starts to say something angry, and then he sort of stops himself and says what he wants to say without the anger.
Yeah, and still awkwardly, but it's really, I like his character. Like it's endearing. Like if he only would have just remained, that one note, kind of just shouty fighting guy. It would have been really, not endearing and just annoying.
Yeah. Well, there would have been no character development, and character development is, kind of what we get into these stories for, like.
Of course.
Character has to have some sort of arc. So,
But there's certainly several shows, stories, what have you, that don't deliver on that.
Yeah, the characters just the same from beginning to end. Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
it's true.
And if you were to just watch like a few episodes of this, like you may not get that. Like it doesn't. It's not necessarily an accelerated thing. Like it kind of, things happen at a decent pace, but it's not it's not like shoving it in your face. Like you gotta take some time with it to.
Oh yeah, I really disliked Kyo when I first watched this way back when.
Yeah.
For a good portion of the show, until he started to prove that he wasn't actually a complete jerk. Which he sort of seems like at first, like. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's probably what you're not supposed to.
And on the other side of it, like Yuki is very soft-spoken and sweet, I guess.
But kind of empty too. We're like, don't really know what's going on in there.
Yeah.
And that seems to tie into like he's kind of shut off to a lot of his feelings and past. And he's slowly getting more ready to share those things. But I guess since we're talking about Kyo, we might as well like talk about the climax of this first season, this emotional climax anyway.
Can we first talk about how his name is pronounced?
Kyo.
Okay, good.
I watched the dub, man, so you're going to have to just...
I know, but you said Kyo several times, and all right, so I've been watching the Olympics a bit, and they say Tokyo all the time. Tokyo drives me up the wall. Just like say it like it's two syllables. Kyo. Kyo. That's that. I don't know how to say that. Well, it's like Q, but instead of Q, you say Kyo. Tokyo.
Yes.
All right.
Are you
sorry.
Quite finished?
Yeah. It was just a little side rant. I'm sorry. The Olympics did it to me.
Yeah. So anyway, about that guy, whose name I can't say now. We finally get his backstory, which is interesting to me. I don't understand where it's going, but it's like he's always worn this bracelet. It's like a red and white.
I thought we were saving that for the end. Are we not going to? All right, whatever. Let's go ahead.
Well, I figured we're already talking about him. I mean,
yeah. All right, go ahead. Spoilers if you haven't seen the whole season.
Yes, of course. Why are you like we said? Why are you listening to this? So he already turns into a cat. We know that. We established that. That's his curse. And the cat, as is an outsider, and he is also not part of the main family. He's part of the secondary outer Soma family.
Yeah, he's not part of the Zodiac.
He's not part of the Zodiac, and it's also illustrated in the fact that he's not really like accepted in the Soma family. Like he's like ostracized in a sense. Like they don't like officially kick him out, but he's just hanging around other Soma family members. But so we knew that he trained in the mountains prior to showing up at Shigeru's house and meeting Toru and all that. And so but we never learned anything more until this finale, where his trainer shows up, his master, and we learn that that his mom was in the picture when he was young, but kind of sheltered him, didn't let him go outside a lot, and told him she loved him, but like because of this reveal that I'm getting to, he never really like accepted her actions betrayed her words, because he could tell like how fearful she was of him, because supposedly when this bracelet's removed, he turns into this like beast, this sort of almost dragon-esque, which is interesting because the dragon is a Zodiac animal, but has not been introduced to us yet. I don't know. And so his master shows up and essentially recognizes that Toru is helping Kyo, but that he needs to. He's still holding back, and like he needs to unveil all this secret to her. And I don't know. It's interesting. Like the master has just met Toru, but he feels like it's time, and so it's raining outside, and he just does it. And so Toru witnesses this, and it's this whole dramatic thing. But then that's when we get to learn about. Like it shows his backstory with his mom of like checking to make sure that wristband or that bracelet is on every morning, like which is funny because like if it wasn't, then wouldn't it be more obvious that he'd be turning into a beast or whatever? But it's kind of a nervous tick of hers, I guess, where she's like, just okay, make sure it's there, and you still can't go outside. But
yeah, I don't know that it is fully explained, like why he turns into that when the bracelet is off, but it seems like the bracelet helps prevent it, or prevents him from turning into that beast thing.
Yeah, it's like
but
some sort of.
If the bracelet is off, he doesn't necessarily always turn into the beast thing though either, because because at the very end of the show, he doesn't have the bracelet on, because it had been removed, and he turns back into himself.
Yeah, and it's when they have this dramatic, this emotional climax, Toru and he, where she embraces him and doesn't, she doesn't fully understand, but she wants to be there for him, and then they have this moment, and then he turns back into a human without the bracelet being on.
Right.
So it's almost like the bracelet is a metaphor for his inability to accept all these things about himself, and like. It's like a sign that he's hiding, he's hiding something and not being true to himself. I don't know, maybe.
My feeling was that there was some other factor involved in him turning into this beast. It wasn't just that the bracelet was removed. It was maybe anger or something like that, because the examples that were given of when this has happened involve him being angry, I think, right?
Yeah, but he's mostly angry, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He is. But yeah, that's why she was checking to make sure the bracelet was on all the time, so that if he got angry, he wouldn't turn into. I don't know.
Maybe
that was my impression of it, but
yeah,
I could be wrong.
I like that idea. It wasn't established in this, but that doesn't mean anything because, like, clearly we get little bits. That's how this goes. But
yeah, we didn't get a lot on that. Like there was only like 3 examples, I think, of the bracelet being removed, one of which is the climax of the show, and the other 2 flashbacks. So,
but then we do get a little bit of a flashback from his master, because, and I really liked how the show does this, the emotional relationship between the 2 of them, because when he was growing up, his grandfather was the cat.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ostracized, and they show him in this scene where, as a kid, the master kind of curiously goes to like check on him, I guess, and he's all like locked up like in a cell.
Yeah.
And he extends his hand, the grandpa does, to the master as a boy, and tries to offer him some food or something. and he just regrets it, but he refused, and the curse
I think it was a rice ball.
was rice ball.
I think so.
But when he extends his hand out, we see that he also has that same bracelet.
Yeah.
So it's a thing that's like intrinsically tied to the cat that we don't know more about. It's just we're just accepting it at this point.
Yeah. Thank goodness we're getting more seasons of this instead of just ending the show there.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is that about with this climax? That's where the show ended.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Because I don't remember any of that. So clearly I did not see the full.
Yeah. There's like the reveal. There's like the Toru sort of accepting him, and then it ends similar to how this season ended, except that
we get more.
There was never more of it.
And sometimes it pays to wait till the thing is done, which we're doing.
I mean, they could. I think there was enough material. They probably could have made more in the past, but I think maybe the original mangaka wasn't very happy with the adaptation that the original was given, with all of the added silliness and sitcom-y humor stuff that was thrown in.
Yeah, and that a lot of that stuff I can just see like undercutting some of these like more dramatic, emotional, tender scenes.
Yeah, I mean this version of it, this newest version of it is, like it still has like some jokes in the beginning and stuff, but it takes on a much more serious tone as we go on.
And it still does like even in these final episodes of this season, like there's still moments where somebody will approach Toru and like Yuki and will kind of do something to embarrass her, and it'll show like these dramatic like anime like big circle eyes of her just being like dumbfounded or whatnot. Like it still does those kind of silly things, but it mixes it in very nicely of like when you get to those like emotional dramatic moments, it's not like a completely different show. Like it still kind of meshes together. But yeah, that was, I mean, we waited, I mean, to get all of that for Kyo. That was 25 episodes just to get to his backstory. So, and like he was introduced, I think, in the first episode, in the latter half.
Yeah.
And so that's quite a while to wait. And there's some characters like Shigure, who owns the house they live in. I still don't know much about him.
Yeah, we know a little bit about.
Yeah. A little but
stuff, but not anything serious, right?
And there's even been scenes where Toru's kind of asked him a question or something, and he's been like, in time you'll know the answer to that. So clearly he's holding back. But I think that leads us to Yuki, because he's another character we don't know much about. But at the end of the season, in the wake of everything that happens with Kyo, I don't know. It's kind of I like this scene where he. This other character who's in the Soma family, who's the ox. His name is I didn't write it down, but
no, you did.
Well, I didn't write it down because it didn't get a backstory for him.
Oh, okay. Something with a K. I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. But he kind of in the end of this season tips off Yuki that how worried Toru is about him, just lately. And so he approaches Toru and just wants to let her know, like, I'm taking these baby steps. I'm trying to get better. And I eventually want to tell you everything. And he really, just specifically her, kind of telling her that. And so like this last episode really ties together, and doesn't, direct us in any way, but like she has this emotional moment with Kyo. And then Yuki, they have this conversation of like, like I want to tell you everything. I'm just not ready yet. So like, please bear with me. So it's still keeping options open for Toru with a love interest thing. But yeah, aside from that, like we know there's some dark stuff in his past, and we know like it involves Akito, which is still like not really an adult. I don't know how old he is, but he has a lot of power within the Soma family, and people are afraid of him.
If he's an adult, he's just barely an adult, I guess. Like 18 maybe?
Yeah, definitely teenage, late teens.
Yeah. But yeah, he's the head of the family. Like,
yeah.
And we don't really know how that came to be, like how he came to be the head of the family. If it's like a passed down thing from father to son, or I mean, probably not. But
yeah, because we learned that a lot of we were talking about this off mic, but like a lot of the parents aren't represented, and for some of them, it's explained of like you were saying,
Momiji.
Yeah, like Momiji, either like they can't handle it and they have to erase their memory, or they become Kyo's mom. They become too fixated on their safety and trying to
Or Kisa, is that her name? The
Kisa,
tiger?
yeah, overprotective.
Her
and-
mom's very overprotective too.
yeah, which is interesting, and so I imagine that just at large not only describes why Akito is the head of the family, but also why a lot of the parents are just not are absent. I imagine,
Yeah.
unless I'm guessing some of them will play some role later on, but who knows? It's an interesting dynamic where you have because you have this family that's kind of has to be insulated from regular society to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
but then within themselves there's all this strife and drama, and so it's just like a living hell whether they're in it or out. They can't find
even
peace.
even within the family, that inner core, or at least the cursed somas, are isolated from the rest. Like the somas are
Yeah,
a very large family, is explained at some point. Like there's this whole
huge.
essentially village, of 125 families or something like that. But then you've got the ones who are cursed, who are the ones that change into animals.
Yeah.
And then you've got like this inner core, which is like the zodiac,
Mm.
which I guess are sort of a ruling class, it seems like, except it doesn't seem like Yuki takes much interest in being part of that. And
Yeah.
I mean, probably because of his backstory and, his history with Akito.
Like even the ones that are kind of in it and more play a bigger role also seem to maintain some distance and walk on eggshells at the same time. Like it's not like this there's no open hearted, not a lot of hugging, It's like Toru brings in like all of this like positive emotion and just more maternal loving sense that is kind of absent from not all of the family members, but like a lot, especially when you get higher up there. It's like seems kind of cold and detached.
Yeah. Well, and just sort of, I guess they are that way because of they're trying to protect the family from the outside, I guess.
Yeah, there's like a sort of element of politics within that, of like how they do that, how they go about doing that, and what they do with people who like outsiders who may be a threat or whatnot. But yeah, so I mean, Yuki, that's mostly what we know about him. We meet his older brother, the snake. His name is Ayama or something like that.
Ayama, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he owns like a costume boutique shop or something.
Yeah.
That
he rents maid outfits and things, apparently.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan of him. He's kind of annoying, but
he's a snake, that guy.
Snake. So he's going under ladies' clothes.
No, he's literally a snake.
Yes, yeah.
In case anyone doesn't know.
I think that fits. Him. It suits him.
Yeah. He seems like, character-wise, he seems kind of like a ditz. Like he doesn't like, get stuff.
Yeah, like he can't read a room. Like,
yeah.
But I was like, is that a put on, or like, is that real? Like, I don't know. He seems like he might have something going on underneath the surface that he's, I don't know, hiding. But yeah, beyond that, we have a few other characters. So we brought up Ayama, I think is something like that. And he's childhood friends with Shigure, who we talked about. And then they sort of form a trifecta bond with Hattori, who is sort of the Soma family doctor.
Yes.
But he's another backstory we get.
Yeah, we get some of his uncomfortable, unhappy backstory about him having met a girl and them being engaged and
fallen in love, and
yeah, I think they got engaged anyway.
I think
right?
so. Yeah, I think they were engaged. Yeah.
And at some point she just can't handle the stress of it, I guess. Or is it? I don't even remember exactly. This was fairly early on in the season,
ago.
so. Is it that she finds out about the curse, or is it that like after she finds out it creates like a slow downward spiral sort of thing?
I think so. Do they have a kid or no? I don't know. Like I might be confusing it with
No,
another
I mean
one.
they never get married or anything. So.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Not that you have to be married to have children, but in this case,
family,
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It must be that, like you were saying, like that she just couldn't like she knew about it, but just couldn't handle the pressure or
Yeah, something. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of pressure just being in the Soma family, becoming part of the Soma family is probably pretty stressful. So
Well, I remember
I don't.
too. There was some altercation with Akito that like he kind of like lashed out at her or like hit her or like he didn't like her for him or something. Like there's something with Akito there where like he was micromanaging their relationship or something.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of our first taste of him, of like what he's like. So I kind of heard about him a little bit.
That's
and
true.
I was like,
That's
oh
true.
wow, he's a prick who, can't leave well enough alone. But then, playing into the context of like, keeping their secrets and not letting, being careful of what outsiders you let in. But that's a whole nother thing when we learn about that. Like it's the context is applied directly to Toru, and it's like outsiders are not generally accepted, but yet
Right.
here you are, and she's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't know.
And has Akito's blessing, I guess. Like they
Yeah,
like
so far, yeah,
Yeah, they definitely sort of asked if this was okay if she moved in, right?
yeah,
So
and he granted it.
he said, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's
It's interesting.
yeah, some interesting dynamics going on there. Like that, not something. Knowing what we know about that character, it's not what we would expect from him, I guess,
Yeah,
to be so willing to. I don't know. There's something going
something-
on there.
yeah.
He's got something going on.
he's
underneath
playing like 3D chess or whatever. I don't know.
that. Yeah.
Whatever that expression is. But yeah, like there's so much more we need to know about him.
Yes.
Before the climax of this show. And then that brings us connected to Hattori with the backstory, but we kind of mentioned him before, Momiji, who is the rabbit.
The rabbit.
That's your boy.
Yep.
And we got some of his backstory, which is related to, sort of how people are handled in the family, like when things go awry. But yeah, his mom, this is probably what I was confusing the other one with, but like gave birth to him and then just like couldn't handle the whole Zodiac thing. And like, yeah, it was too much. And so now her memory has been erased and he still sees her from time to time around and knows that that's his mom, but she has no idea. She thinks like he's still part of the family, but like not her child. But
Right.
she still has his younger sister, who he knows is his sister.
And she's still married to his dad,
Yeah.
who his memory wasn't erased, so he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did we really meet the dad much? Because that would have been
no.
okay.
It's just mentioned. I think. Yeah.
Because that, like, speaking of parents not being represented, like these are some parents that exist and they're part of the family and they're but it's not important. This is a story about the kiddos, I guess.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And then so his sister Momo, and that's just heartbreaking. Like, I don't know, that aspect. Momiji in the dub, I know I touched on this on our Lost episode where we talked about this, but he's a German of German descent. I don't really know
Yes.
what if he lived in Germany or if he was just born there, or but in the dub they really go for this, like, English, but it has a German accent, and I've gotten used to it at this point, but it was kind of like distracting at first.
In the Japanese dub, the Japanese version, he speaks German with a Japanese accent, basically. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. And they understand him.
Yeah, well enough, I guess. I mean, not that they really understand what he's saying when he's speaking German, I guess. But,
Yeah. But yeah, learning his backstory, it was kind of heartbreaking for me. And then I guess after that, Toru has these two friends, or like two best friends at school, and they're very protective of her. They knew her mom, which we knew, but then not too long ago we got their backstories, and kind of ties into how they knew her mom and why they're so close and why their bond's so strong.
Yeah, and this is one of the big differences, I guess, between the original adaptation and this adaptation, is that we see both of these backstories in quite a bit more detail. Like, we had hints that these backstories existed, I guess, in the original adaptation, but nowhere near the depth of or explanation of you know, exactly what the story was. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've got Uotani,
Mm-hmm.
who was one of Toru's classmates, who was a troublesome wannabe gangster girl, I guess.
Yeah, delinquent and
Yeah.
yeah.
And she idolized this gangster of an older generation,
The Crimson Butterfly.
Crimson Butterfly.
believe.
Yes, which it turns out is actually Toru's mom. She's the Crimson Butterfly, and she gave up being a gangster to have a family and
Yeah.
be a mom and stuff. And so Uotani hears that the Crimson Butterfly has a daughter who actually goes to the same school as her, knows that her last name was changed to Honda because she got married or whatever.
Yeah, through the grapevine, she heard that.
And yeah, just happens to run into Toru one day and finds out that she's the daughter of this, gangster that she idolizes, and then goes home with her because she wants to meet her idol, and all she finds is a doting mother, not a hardcore motorcycle gang member.
Yeah, and
which is what she expected.
The immediate reaction is like utter letdown and disappointment.
Yeah, and then she kind of continues in her delinquent ways, and at some point runs into Toru again or something. And
yeah, she's like running from some people that are trying to, I don't know, beat her ass. And Toru, she runs across, like while running away, she like bumps into Toru, and Toru like brings her back,
grabs her and drags her home.
Yeah, and she's like, "What's happening?"
Yeah.
And then it's like through that, like slowly wins her over. Like she kind of sees the merit of this life that they're living, and she's not at first, but she starts spending more and more time with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Kyoko's mothering, as well, Kyoko being Toru's mom.
Yeah.
Her mothering nature kind of starts to soften Uotani over time.
When she kind of contrasts it with like her like home, which is like her dad, like her mom's out of the picture, and her dad just like drinks a lot of beer and like is just watches TV a lot, and is like it's always dim in her place, and she doesn't really feel like a home to her, and now she's seeing like what it could be like.
Yeah, and I think Iwatani maybe respects Kyoko's mothering a little bit because, I don't know, I feel like Kyoko must just put something on it like, yeah, I used to be like you, I see how you are, and
yeah.
Because we kind of see Uotani in the episode in which we see her backstory, the current events that are happening. We see Uotani kind of taking that same tone and that same attitude towards some younger girls who, basically want to beat her up because she quit the gang or whatever.
Yeah. She has this perspective, and
she says some, very thoughtful and kind things to them, and then one of them comes to sort of idolize her. A couple of them, actually. I guess
leaves an impression.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great episode. It's like
it's good.
Yeah,
and I really like. I mean, there's a whole aspect. Well, so I mean, there's a whole aspect of like she starts spending more and more time with at Toru and Kyoko's house, and just more and more gets won over by that. And then it all ends in like she wants to leave the gang, and so it turns into a whole thing, and like they're all just wailing on her. And then Kyoko hears about it from one of Uotani's delinquent buddies who didn't sit right with her.
One of her elder senpai within the gang, who also knows Kyoko from back in the day. She's like in that age group in between, so she sort of knows both of them, and
like a legend for their generation or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Kyoko shows up and kind of saves the day, rescues her from that. But then what I love is that, because up until this point we kind of saw like her reaction with her dad, like in current time Uotani, like she monitors what he drinks, she like cuts him off, and like she does a lot of the cooking and cleaning. The lights are on, like it's a complete opposite. Like she took what she saw Kyoko had done and like applied it to her own life. It wasn't like just like once Kyoko died she missed that and was sad. Like she actually like turned it into something that could be positive in her life, and like she's probably prolonging her dad's life because she's kind of taking control there. Like I don't know, I like that whole full circle thing.
Yeah. It really is. It's a great episode. I have no idea. Like, I'm assuming this is original material from the manga. I think,
Yeah.
as far as I've seen, I looked up to see like if there was any filler, and it looks like literally every single episode is 100% canon.
Nice.
There's probably
great.
little bits that are changed, but like overall. So yeah, this was in the original manga, and it wasn't adapted into the original animation.
Yeah, which huge oversight.
Probably because it's hard to make it funny.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
They're making a different show there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's not a light humorous show. It's like a good drama. You're probably gonna cry, sort of.
Yeah. And I've had a couple of tears. I haven't hasn't really hit me yet, but I feel like all the stuff that they're laying out is going to really come back and be effective for a really good dramatic story. But it's also gonna just probably tear me apart at some point. So I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, the particular episode we're talking about with Uotani and Kyoko. Like, I mean, honestly, we don't even see that much of Kyoko in the original adaptation, right? So this was like so much more of her, and like,
which is great.
Yeah. This one got me a little misty eyed a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. This one was up there for me too. And I always, even before these backstories, I was so happy to get for Uotani, and we'll get to Wave Girl next, Hanajima. But they were kind of two of my favorite characters because they're funny, and they're always defending Toru, and
they're like firm friends basically. Like they always have her back basically, right?
And like when Yuki and Kyo enter the picture, they're kind of like, we got to kind of see what
check
these
them
guys
out.
are all about. Yeah, like are you good for our Toru? And it's really nice. Even before the backstory, like it just was kind of endearing, and it just made it more so. That's good stuff. But yeah, Hanajima is a Wave Girl.
Yep.
Which, man, like there's this whole thing of like these girls at school who are in love with Prince Yuki, and they're like, we're gonna go to her house and kind of exploit her weakness. We're gonna get some dirt on her,
right?
And she's up to what they're trying to do and all that. But that's and it doesn't really, we kind of see more of her house, and like we meet her brother and stuff. But then this leads us into the next episode where we get to learn like a whole lot more about her upbringing and stuff. And yeah, this one was pretty emotional too. Like, where to begin? But essentially, she has like they established she has like some sort of I don't know what you call it, like
psychic power of some sort.
Psychic,
I guess,
ESP, extrasensory perception, or something like.
Waves.
Yeah, she's the Wave Girl, and that was always played for laughs, up until this point. But then we learn like that there's like a darker thing to that. And so essentially, when she was young, she was at this other school where she was picked on a lot, made fun of because she was so quiet and kind of, I don't know, gothic before gothic was cool. Too young to be gothic, I guess. But yeah, she was picked on so much in this one instance where she was just wishing for this boy that was teasing her to die, and then he ends up like in that moment collapsing, and he doesn't die, but he
doesn't wake up for like 2 weeks or something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but yeah.
And so the whole school essentially it gets out that this correlation between that, and so it doesn't help the bullying, it actually makes it worse. Like people are afraid of her, but then even more against her because of that. And so she ends up getting bullied and she guilt herself so much over this. Like it's the way they portray that was pretty heartbreaking too. Like just this child, like not feeling so all the weight of that guilt, and like her parents are comforting and they try to help her, but it's just like not enough. But anyway, she gets bullied so much that she has to leave that school. It just kind of seems like the best option, and that's when she goes to the school where Toru and Uotani are friends. Like we already got Uotani's backstory, and I loved in Uotani's backstory that she kind of mentions this or by like, oh yeah, and then we met Hanajima. Her version was very much like, yeah, she was cool. but yeah, so she meets them, and they, she's still trying to keep to herself and not get involved with people. She's still terrified of hurting someone or getting pushed to a brink where she, loses her grip on, what she's thinking and what's going on. But they just, open arms, they take her in, and it all kind of culminates in somebody recognizing her and knowing these rumors.
It's not even really open arms. I mean, they kind of force her in. They grab her and they pull her in,
Well, Uotani's very aggressive, but Toru her meeting Toru has kind of opened her heart more. So it's like, it's all yeah, you're right. I mean, like, yeah, Uotani for sure is like, no, you're sitting with us. You're having lunch with us. And then Toru's just sweet, and it's a good combo, I guess. Good cop, bad cop. I don't know. Friends.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Good friend, bad friend. I don't know. That doesn't work the same.
Sweet friend, aggressive friend. That's
yeah. All right, sure, that works.
Yeah, and then I forget exactly, but like it all comes out. Somebody else calls her out, like, aren't you that girl that almost killed that one, or did kill? Like the rumors get.
Oh yeah, and it's like super exaggerated beyond actuality as well. But yeah.
But she still feels so guilty about it that it's as if she killed that boy. Like in her mind, it's so intense. And then of course, Uotani and Toru are like, whatever, you're our friend. Like, that's just your past. Like, we accept you, and I don't know, just fun, heartwarming themes. I don't know if I missed anything in there, but
no, I mean, you covered all of it. But like, the backstory when she's younger it's pretty dark. Like her, I mean, her personal feelings about herself are pretty dark. Like, she feels like she doesn't deserve to have any friends. I think you said, like, she feels like she's being punished for what she did, and that she deserves that punishment that she's getting by not having any friends and isolating herself. And it's, again, probably why it wasn't adapted into the original anime.
Way too real.
Yeah.
And it's so true to life in a lot of cases, I think, when maybe not this specifically, because she has like these sort of otherworldly abilities, but it's like when a young person like this is dealing with so much of this guilt or this anxiety, or whatever it is that's weighing them down, like, they're a lot of times, they have like a good comfort system of their parents, or in this case her younger brother. Like, they care for her and they want to help her so bad, but in a lot of true life cases, it's like they don't know how. Like, they're there for them, and it's not until they meet someone else that is separate from that. I don't know what it is, but they get some other perspective, and they feel like they have like a place that grounds them.
Right. Yeah. And that's sort of what they go into at the end of the episode, is that, my parents were always there, loving and supportive, but I didn't really recognize that until I met these other people that gave me support as well. And I don't know. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I like that. And this show is like, I mean, it goes dark places emotionally, but it's all about like finding that light. And Toru, like, as a character, she's like, she doesn't have a lot of flaws. I mean, she has some, but like, she represents that light, and it's so, I don't know, I think that's the whole point of her character. And I do like her. I'm not trying to, I'm just being a little critical of her. Like, she is kind of like, can almost do no wrong, but she's so sweet and humble that it works, I think.
Yeah. We're getting pretty long here.
Yeah, we've reached our hour. That's our cap. So I don't know. Final thoughts.
We had a lot more to, like. You've got a whole list.
Well, I got one more character we didn't talk about.
Oh, is that it?
And I don't even think it's that important at this point.
Who was it? Kisa?
Well, it's actually mine. It's the tiger, Kisa.
Oh, Kisa.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, that ties in with not Uotani, but Hana, because of the bullying thing as well.
Oh, yes,
right?
that's true.
So
yeah, that ties.
It sort of makes sense that we would talk about her next.
And it also ties into just how great Toru is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We don't necessarily need to talk about her backstory. I don't know how important it's going to be. It was just sort of,
Yeah, and it was pretty brief.
A little revelatory of Yuki's backstory, in that he went through a similar thing, not with bullying, but because of
shut down
Akito's behavior towards him.
Yeah.
That he did the same thing. He sort of shut down after being bullied, and that's sort of what her story is about, and how Toru, just being sweet sunshine that she is, brings her out of that, and is sort of doing the same thing for Yuki. Even though his trauma was years ago, he was still holding on to it. But she's sort of bringing him out of that as well. So it just sort of is a story to illustrate and highlight that, I think.
Yeah, it's good for us, the audience, but it's also probably good for Yuki witnessing her, help Kisa so much, and him, relating, somewhat to what she's going through. So it's like, oh, there's hope for me. Like,
and then sort of Toru's desire to help Kisa sort of makes Yuki want to do the same thing, and he starts sort of, talking to Kisa about, his personal backstory and
that's true.
And that stuff too. And so Toru's spreading a little bit. We see a fair amount of that throughout the season, in fact, where she is infecting others with her politeness.
She's a glorious hippie goddess.
She's pretty great. She's a super lovable character.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
Like she's designed that way. Like there's, I don't know if there's any way you could not like her unless you're like, oh, she's too lovable.
Like it's weird when she's not on screen, like, which she almost always is. But
she's the center of the story for sure.
Yeah. But whenever she isn't, and some other character is talking about important stuff, but it's like, give me Toru. I need the light back. But yeah, I'm enjoying the show. I guess I'm about a 7. It has some nice highs in this first season, but like I expect it to ramp up from here. But it's a solid show, and I like it.
It's a super solid adaptation. I love the original show, despite the fact that it ended so not super abruptly, but like it ended and then didn't continue. Like there was obvious that there was more that there was supposed to be, and it didn't continue.
Not satisfying conclusion.
But yeah, I enjoyed the original show a lot. And when I first started watching this one, I watched like the first 3 episodes, and I was like, it's like a different tone a little bit, and I wasn't sure about the character design changes or the difference from the original one. But then after I came back and picked it up and started watching it again, the old characters look weird to me now. So
yeah, that's true. And it's a good looking show. Like,
it looks really good.
Very
it's
consistent.
It felt more modern, and I think maybe that's what I didn't like about it.
It's kind of reconcile those old memories.
I just needed to watch a little bit of it and then take a while off and then come back to it and be like, oh yeah, this is what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah,
because when I first watch it, that's not what they're supposed to look like. But yeah, no, it's funny because I think I would have given the original one like an 8 back before I watched any of this, right? And this is essentially the same story, and in fact, better in many ways.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm in the same place at like a 7. Mostly because it's a good, solid beginning to there being more.
Yeah.
Whereas the original one, I don't know. I don't know how to reconcile those numbers in my mind. I mean, there's just that sort of fondness. The member berries, I guess, maybe result in that extra point. But this is a better show than that show was, I think.
Yeah. And something we needed, like this. I'm so glad they did this. Like, and I can't wait to see how this story ends.
Yeah. So we've got, another 25 plus 13 episodes left.
Yeah, so I think we're going to meet again to talk about the second season in about 4 or 5 weeks, something like that.
Something like that. Like I said, it's supposed to be 5 per week. We're on week 5 now, so we should have watched 25. So we're right on track, in fact.
Okay, nice.
All right, so another 5 weeks, and we'll do the next one, and then
sweet.
Another however many weeks, 3 weeks after that, we'll do the finale of the last season. So
I was thinking this one would be shorter than an hour, and like that final one would be like a longer episode when we know everything, but who the hell knows? They all be an hour.
I don't know. I felt like I didn't have a whole lot to say about this, and then we started talking about it, and can't shut me up, I guess.
No, I'm very similar, and I think we touched on a lot of good, really solid moments, like really good writing, and a lot of these characters.
I think anyone who hasn't watched this show listening to this is going to have no idea what this show is about because we didn't really go into like plot that much, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
it's sort of like, I mean, we went through
Yeah.
character by character instead of plot point by plot point, you know,
Yeah.
through the story. So
which I think is more is how it's told, because it's like the plot itself is more about learning about the characters. Like
yeah. No, I think it's a great way to go through it because, you know, each of the characters has their own development through the series and, you know, I think I'm just saying, like,
Excuse
anyone
me.
that
Yeah.
hadn't watched it, they're not going to have any idea. So
well, let us know,
you know.
especially you Anime Princess 14 out there, since you
Yeah.
listen to our episodes.
anyone who
frequently.
hasn't watched this show and listened to this entire episode, let us know what you think of
Yeah.
this. It probably sounds like a jumbled mess to you, but then go watch the show and then listen to this episode again, and then tell all your friends to listen to this episode and tell them that they can find us on all the social medias at umlikeanime. That's UMLIKEANIME. They can leave us comments just like the comments that you're going to leave us. That was a really subtle segue, wasn't
That
it?
was that was amazing. That was masterful, as far as I'm concerned.
I knew where I was going with it, but it felt heavy-handed.
No,
when
I think
did
it was good. I
All
think
right.
when we hear it back, it'll be golden.
All right. Anyway, you can find us on all the socials. Leave us comments. We like to hear from you. How do you feel about this version of Fruits Basket versus the old version of Fruits Basket? I'll ask, please, no spoilers for the following seasons of Fruits Basket because we have not yet watched them.
Let us spoil that for you.
Unless you're listening to this, at least 5 weeks in the future, in which case feel free to spoil season 2 of Fruits Basket because we will have already seen it by then. I don't know what else to say. I need another beer.
Love you guys.
Bye.